I'm here with Bryan Red, Undyingart, an amazing tattooist. I've seen all of your work, so I really thank you for coming and talking to me today because I have so many questions.
Yeah, it's not a problem at
so
all.
many questions. How did you get into tattooing?
So when I was young, I was probably 15 years old. I was actually legally emancipated at that age because I had my GED.
Yeah.
And I was in Florida, and I went into a tattoo shop, did all the paperwork, and the guy asked me what I wanted. So I asked him for a piece of paper and a pen, and I drew this star on my arm. And he said he didn't even have to fix it or anything. He ran it right through the stencil machine, and
Yeah.
when he was tattooing me, he asked me a few questions, and the next day he asked me to bring my drawings up. And yeah, the next day I started my apprenticeship.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you started your apprenticeship at 15. Where was this at?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
So you're 15, Jacksonville, Florida. You're starting your apprenticeship. And I think a lot of people are under this misconception that you're like an amazing badass tattoo on day 3.
Oh, yeah. No, that
doesn't work that way.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. Yeah, I would say for me, it took maybe 5-6 years to get to where I felt I was doing a tattoo from start to finish without problems.
Yeah.
Or without what I thought were imperfections, stuff like that. And I mean, we all still have our bad days.
Yeah.
But it definitely takes time. It's a very unnatural thing, so no one's really a natural at it.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you said that it's an unnatural thing, right? Because the skin is not like this traditional paint canvas. Like, you have no idea what you're going to experience until you take that first stroke of the needle.
Yeah, well, I mean, and every little piece of the skin
Yeah.
is different than the piece next to it. So it takes a long time to really get a feel for it. And then, no two people really have the same skin either. When you encounter people who are from countries where it's mostly that race,
Yeah.
then you get a more consistent kind of like types of skin.
Okay.
But here in America, it's
Yeah.
such a mix of all different kinds of people that, yeah, I mean, I've encountered some really strange skin, and I mean, we've all seen people who have like a lot of moles or skin tags and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And sometimes they'll want something really complicated in the midst of all that, but then the next person will have skin like a princess, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of variables and when it comes to it.
So, like, how do you source, like, so you make a living going around different places. You're not in the same spot, like, permanently. Like, you keep moving around, right?
Sometimes I do hang around.
Yeah.
I think the longest I've stayed at one shop was 2 years. But I've had shops where I've went in and 6 hours later I was packing my stuff up and leaving because I didn't like it or whatever the case may be. But mainly the last 5 or 6 years has just been going from shop to shop trying to find the right fit. And I've actually found it here in Salem.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's something unique about Salem, I think. Like, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. Like, the sense of community here is a little different.
I haven't been here that long,
Mm-hmm.
and I spend most of my time working and just taking care of myself. But for me, it's just the size of it.
Yeah.
It's not so big that it's stressful,
Yeah.
but it's not so small that it's boring.
I like that about it too. So, like, in terms of like being a tattoo artist and like going through the day to day, you almost have to be like a salesperson, if you will, right?
Yeah, but you can make your own style with that.
Okay.
It isn't like a sales job at a furniture store,
Right.
where there's a formulated way to say things and sell things.
And your art kind of speaks for itself.
Well, yeah, but it really only matters a little bit of the time.
Okay.
Because the vast majority of people who come in for tattoos want something quick and small. They don't really care who does it. They don't care that, you've done all this other stuff. They just want what they want real quick, and they want to go on about their day and take pictures, But there are plenty of people, when they look at your work, they can tell that, you've had a lot of time to hone in on it. But as far as sales, like how to be a salesman with tattoos, I mean, I've always found the best way is to just draw something up for the person right there with my hands, and not necessarily use a lot of help with like applications and stuff like that. A lot of the newer people are relying really heavily on apps, iPads, copying and pasting. I mean, I've been in shops where someone's Apple Pencil broke or died or whatever, and they couldn't do their tattoo that day. And then and then like that person could have been in town from out of state.
Yeah.
And it completely ruined their appointment when, you really shouldn't be tattooing if you don't have the capability to draw.
Yeah.
Because if let's say I was for whatever reason using an iPad to make a tattoo design and it died, and that person would, if it was time sensitive especially, I'll just take the time to draw it with my hands. That, I mean, I see now a lot of those applications have like, you can grab a snake, like one of their snakes and then one of their knives and then do like their leaves around it. It just turns it into like its own pin. And it's like, well, if you're doing that, then there's 5,000 other people making the same thing, and it's like, at least people can see that I'm taking the time out of my day to like draw it with my hands, draw something that I'm not even looking at another picture for, I think sometimes that can really stand out, but it isn't as prevalent as you might think. Like I said, a lot of people just want the instant gratification, so.
I kind of get where they're coming from to a certain extent, but like for me, right? Like the one thing I would hate is to go out there and see somebody with the exact same tattoo that I have.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
If you go to an artist that actually takes the time to draw and they do their own work, I think it makes a heck of a lot of difference.
Yeah. I mean, but that's for people who want bigger stuff. Not everybody wants bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So
you're talking about like some people just want like that to like a half an hour tattoo, the tiny
vast
little
majority of people.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, it is different where you go. There's some places where, so that's one of the pros to staying on one spot for a long time. Is you can build that up. See, when I bounce around so much, I'm not anywhere usually long enough to build up much of a reputation. I'm mainly just coming in and picking up the slack that like the shop like might not have someone for, or whatever, and then whatever for whatever reason it usually doesn't work out. It's because something's not to my standard, or just people being people, and making unnecessary drama, which is unfortunate.
So, but I do want to talk a little bit about acceptance, right? Because, like, I remember a time, like, when I first got my tattoo, which was 20 years ago, it wasn't as accepted in the community if you had a tattoo that had certain negative connotations. But I think it's changing. Like, more and more people are becoming accepting of it, and I think that's a good thing. Do you see that sort of same pattern? Like, people would surprise you when they come in and ask for a tattoo? Like, I would not expect that from this person.
So I started tattooing right before it got really mainstream popular as far as the TV shows and stuff like that. So I did catch a little bit of the tattoo artist side of how things were when, it was really just like your more unsavory types, I guess some would say, coming to tattoo shops. But I mean, because I've been in tattoo shops the whole time pretty much, it's been such a gradual growth that it was never really shocking to me after the first couple like lawyers who came in, or people who said that they did like surgeries and this and that, and it's like, wow, okay, but yeah, I mean, I don't really like, I can't necessarily recall me going into any place and seeing someone who wouldn't normally have tattoos with them. I mean, maybe you see some servers and stuff in nice restaurants who will have like a large piece, or something on their neck, but at least it's tasteful usually. I guess unless it's Waffle House, then like they don't really care. But but yeah, I mean, it's definitely more accepted than it was when I was younger, and but I mean, it is nice to see a good variety of people coming in, because and then you're also doing things that you wouldn't normally do. Maybe the people who are more alternative aren't bringing always like the freshest ideas, but this guy who's a veterinarian is coming in with a cool idea.
Now, do you prefer your guests or your customers to come in with an idea, or do you prefer people to come in with a blank slate?
I mean, you would think that for me it'd be the funnest thing to do whatever I want, but then I'll run ideas by people and just get shot down every time, and it ends up being one of those things where it's like, well, all right then, just give me an idea. But sometimes it does work out. But yeah, for the most part, it's good to know at least what you're comfortable having and what you don't want to have.
Yeah,
because like it's just like my luck. Every idea I throw to someone, it's just not for them,
Yeah.
And then they end up just finding something anyway. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes, yeah, I do really enjoy, like, if neither one of us has like an idea of what we want to do, then I'll just start drawing on their skin with marker, and sometimes comes up with cool stuff. Yeah,
that's awesome. It's so like when you have a customer and they come in with a blank canvas. So like, let me rephrase that. Sometimes my autistic brain gets the best of me. So when you have somebody come in, do you see normally if people have some unrealistic expectations about how much time it's going to take to complete a tattoo?
I mean, I work pretty quickly, but most people don't seem to be too concerned with the time unless they're in a hurry. And in that case, I usually tell them, if you're in a hurry, just get it another time.
What's a good rule of thumb, though, for somebody to sort of like plan out? So, like, if you're coming to a tattoo and you want like a craft sleeve, for example, that's going to take like a few hours, right?
I mean, at least it's different for everyone. I've know people who work extremely slow.
Okay.
And then I'm one of those people who works kind of extremely fast.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't charge by time. So I'm really like the time aspect.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't really like something I paid much attention to.
Yeah. I think that makes a difference too.
Yeah, I usually just tell people, if it's a tattoo that's like the size of the palm or smaller, I doubt it'll take me a half hour. But usually for larger stuff, I tell people either block out a half a day or the whole day.
Yeah.
Just depending on what we're doing.
And then in terms of like how long does it take you to like come up with a drawing aspect of it?
I mean, I'm pretty quick, man. A lot of the times, like I said, I can just take a marker through your skin and draw whatever you want right on you, like in the moment. Just improvise it. It's usually the stuff where if someone wants something with a lot of things added to it, it gets to be real messy at that point. Like someone wants, a tree with names in the leaves, and then just like they want ladybugs with a certain number of spots crawling up just all this like stuff. It ends up being like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, really.
Yeah.
So I try to steer people away from that and do something that just kind of flows out more smoothly.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes less is more. And there's also an Einstein quote. I'm pretty sure it's Einstein, but he said if you can't explain it in a simple way, you don't understand it. So I try to use that philosophy, but with my illustrations and drawings.
Yeah.
As long as I understand what's going on, I feel like I can simply make it. It seems to just come right out.
Do you have a favorite?
My favorite thing to make art or tattoos of is skulls.
Nice.
But I also really like cartoons, graffiti stuff. I really enjoy like the traditional Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the modern variations of it. I mean, there really isn't. It's easier for me to list stuff I don't like.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is basically like doing tiny stuff.
Like micro tattoos?
Yeah, because I mean that stuff doesn't hold up anyway.
Yeah.
That's another thing is like people kind of believe whatever they see on the internet, and it's like pictures of things are one of the last things you should trust. Because
especially with AI and all that. Yeah.
I mean, even before AI, man, people were able to just doctor the shit out of photos, or anything really. I mean, I remember there was like an Incredible Hulk movie 15 years ago that looked insanely real.
Yeah.
And it was so long ago that people would say it's dated,
Right.
So, like, as far as, like, visual doctoring and, what I mean, all that, it's too easy to, like, do that.
Yeah.
A 15-year-old kid can take a picture of a bad tattoo and make it look like a good one with a couple, like, filters and adjustments. So like, I try to just have all my photos unfiltered and just they are what they are. They might not be as like shiny and blingy as other people's stuff, but it's one of those things where like real recognizes real. Like anyone who knows what they're looking at is going to tell that I'm not trying to hide anything.
Yeah,
just giving you what's there.
Yeah, and your artwork on Instagram speaks for itself.
Thanks.
It really does. I was perusing that the other day, and one of the reasons I came to you to do the tattoo, and I'm going to have you do that tattoo for me, which is amazing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm excited to do that one.
Is because I ran into 7 people, and all of them mentioned your name.
Yeah, around here.
Around here.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Like, you got to check out this guy with Undyingart. You got to check him out. I'm like, all right, I'll check him out.
Awesome.
And then the other part I wanted to talk to you about is the fact that you're going on a little bit of a walkabout here in a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah. Actually, this Saturday I'm hitting the road.
That is so amazing. How long have you been hitting the road? Because you follow ICP around, right?
Something like that. So they don't necessarily tour anymore, but they do big shows.
Yeah.
A couple times a year, and they've had an annual festival for the last almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Called the Gathering of the Juggalos, and I've been going the last 4 or 5 years since 2019. I've missed one, so because I've spent a lot of time looking for different shops and just places to move. There's other artists involved with them,
Yeah.
that have been on tour, and I've followed them here and there.
Yeah.
And I would do like graffiti,
That's
with,
awesome.
like their names or their logos, just to kind of hype up the shows and stuff. And that's actually, I've become friends with them. One rapper in particular named Luigi Mac,
Yeah.
and another named Darbio Trill.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, I've met ICP, and they actually knew who I was through my exploits, which was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, especially since I've listened to them since I was a kid, so that was kind of surreal.
Yeah.
But the last couple of years, I would mainly just travel around and book private appointments with people, mainly juggalos, and do ICP themed tattoos while I'm traveling, and then hang out here in Oregon. And then when it comes time for the gathering, I go back across, but I make a bunch of stops and see people.
That's awesome.
Tattoo and paint murals and stuff along the way.
That's awesome, dude. So where are you stopping along the way this time?
Quite a few places. Salt Lake City, LA, Las Vegas, Denver, Wichita, a place called Ardmore, Oklahoma. I'll be going to Savannah, Georgia, Jacksonville, Florida.
I love Savannah.
It's small, but I have a good time out there.
Yeah. I was stationed in Fort Stewart, Georgia for 1.5 years.
Okay.
And would go to Savannah a lot.
Navy?
Army. Yeah.
Okay.
I loved Savannah. Hated the heat.
Yeah. I'm not looking to be down in the South in July, but I mean that's the breaks.
Nature of the beast.
The gathering is in the summer.
Yeah.
So I have to do all that when it's hot, unfortunately.
Yeah. How many people come to the gathering?
My estimate is probably 20,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not as big as some festivals, but it's still pretty big. I think the amount of antics and wildness makes up for the, there's already kind of enough going on there.
It's one of those things where I've always wanted to go, but never had the courage to go.
Oh, you should. Mm-hmm. You should. It's a lot more welcoming than people might think.
And that's kind of what I wanted to get at, right? Because there's this huge negative connotation with ICP and the people that listen to ICP.
Yeah, rightfully so. It's not for everybody, and there are a lot of mischievous and outsiders and stuff like that. What people will call unsavory or undesirable types.
But by whose standards?
But the majority.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, at the same time, 364 days out of the year, it's probably not for everyone, but I feel like everyone would feel welcome at the gathering, and would enjoy themselves,
especially if you're there to enjoy the music and you embrace the thing that's happening there.
Yeah, so as far as their musical lineups, they're not always the best.
Yeah,
but the main reason to go anyway is to see ICP, because they put on a hell of a show. Yeah.
How many times have you seen them live?
I've seen them live probably a dozen.
That's awesome.
At least. For a long period of time, I didn't go to any concerts.
Yeah.
So I seen them once when I was a teenager, and then just the last like 4 years or so, I started going back to shows again and going to them a lot, actually. So
is that something that sort of spurred that change, or just kind of it was time?
Change as far as what?
Like you said, you hadn't gone for a while.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for some years before that, I was just in a dark place and didn't do a whole lot. Just worked and survived.
Yeah.
But basically, without saying too much, my head was just kind of up my ass.
Yeah.
And I got it out.
Yeah.
I started enjoying other things in life, like concerts.
Yeah.
So
I kind of know what you mean. Like, I've been living a sheltered life for the last 20 years. It's only been the last year where I've actually started to come out and do things like this and sort of turn the tide. Like, a lot of people don't understand that, that if you're in that funk, that other people are in that same funk too.
Yeah.
And it's awesome that you're able to get to that other side.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was using alcohol and drugs and stuff for a long time, and then just involving myself in music and stuff like that kind of helped me like get away from that. And it's definitely taken me places too.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not even a musician, but I've ended up becoming friends with some pretty big musicians, and yeah, just doing cool stuff with my art. People have taken notice.
Well, musicians are a different breed of cat.
Yeah, a lot of them are really self-centered.
Yeah.
But they're fun.
That's what I mean. That I have yet to hang out with a musician who isn't fun.
Yeah.
Like, there is that little level of self-centeredness that you kind of have to be on stage in front of that many people. Mm-hmm. But the reality is once the lights are out, there are people too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's actually what I was going to get to. We're talking about why a lot of people are like don't like or feel a certain way about ICP and Juggalos. Is that even though those people are kind of undesirable to most others, I mean they're still people.
Yeah.
I've definitely had people. It's really strange because I personally feel more at home like in the ghetto than I do in like nicer places, just because of the way I look. I've been traveling, and there'll be times where like I'll pull off the highway and I won't want to rest at a rest area or something. I'll just pull off into some neighborhood and park on the street and hop in the back of my van and lay down, and then an hour later I got the cops waking me up and knocking. People are saying I'm being suspicious when
you just pulled over just taking a nap.
Just pulled over, but I've never had that problem like in the hood. You know what I mean? Because people are just minding their own business, or they're worried about themselves. They're really worried about what other people are doing. But people could definitely be judgmental. But I mean, I would say it's only half out of place.
Yeah,
because like you have to judge people when you see them, whether you see it that way or not.
It's a natural occurrence.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a survival thing. If someone looks like they're gonna like give you a disease if they come too close, you're gonna have to judge that and stay the fuck away from them. What I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just it is a tricky game to like judge things right by the appearance of things, because I've definitely been guilty of doing that, judging a person by the way that they looked, and they end up being a lot cooler than I thought. Whether it be if they were homeless or crazy looking or whatever, or if someone seemed like they were a rich asshole, but they actually ended up being really down to earth. What I mean? So,
and I get that a lot with the autism. So you'd be surprised how many people treat me differently the minute I disclose that I'm autistic. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is tied to judgment and misconceptions and preconceived notions, right? And I would imagine it's very similar as a tattoo artist, that there people have negative connotations or sort of judgments about you just because you do tattoos.
I mean, sometimes. I would say the main preconceived notion that people have when they talk to me after they know I'm a tattoo artist is that they think I want to hear their idea.
Right. That it happens all the time, I would imagine, right?
Oh, man, yeah. I mean, I get it. People get excited about it, and it's a fun thing, and everybody wants one.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things, too, where it's like, if that's what I do, like, at least talk to me about something else for a little bit before you just dive right in, because it gets to be like an echo chamber.
Yeah.
It isn't necessarily that I'm annoyed with that person or by that person. It's by what's being said.
Yeah.
And it's like when you hear the same thing 50 times a day and you're not getting paid for it, it kind of sucks.
I kind of get that. Like, so like it's to the point now where people are asking me to be on the podcast, and it's like, I want to talk to you first. Like, I want to get to know you because
keep it organic.
Yeah. Well, and I want to talk to interesting people that have interesting perspectives.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. So like, so my thing is, I'm not necessarily worried about. So I would like to do every tattoo that comes my way.
Yeah.
But sometimes the chemistry with the person isn't there, and I've kicked myself in the ass before for just going ahead and doing the work to make the money and just to like keep everyone happy, and it just ended up being bad. So that's one of those things where even if people are asking me things that I don't really want to talk about, it is a good way for me to kind of weed out who I'm going to jive with and who I'm not.
Yeah.
Because it isn't even that I really think about how I'm going to respond to people. I just naturally respond and say what comes natural.
Yeah.
I don't really care. And I feel like where things land is where they should be. So I just kind of have trust in my own process as far as like how I respond to things, how I respond to people, or like what I tell them, because a person could be really polite, ask me about some stuff and something, I'm just like, well, you know what? Nah, just fuck off. But I trust that happened for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe that person was gonna do some really dumb shit.
Yeah.
Later, who knows? Or they weren't, and I missed out. But you know what I mean. I'll just have trust in myself.
So what's the worst looking tattoo you've ever encountered? Like one of those, like coming to the ops, like I need to cover up. This is so bad.
I've seen a bunch of really horrid stuff. It's hard to really recall on the spot.
That's fair.
But the one thing that I could say comes to mind as far as like really bad that I had to cover was this older gentleman. This was like 15 years ago. He came in and had some sort of like a sexual thing. Like,
oh no!
Like, it was on his arm, and it said like, I don't even remember exactly what it said, but it was to the effect of like my slut or something like that. And I was kind of like laughing about it, and he was like, it's not funny because he was like, I think it was like when he was younger, and some older lady like forced him to like do it.
Oh no!
And did like bad shit to him, and I was like, oh shit, and he's like, yeah, I want to cover it. I'm like,
hell yeah,
I give him a good deal on it because I felt bad for but I mean, like you never really know. But I've seen some really bad stuff too, where people just like buy their kids tattoo stuff off the internet, and they're like, yeah, he's gonna be really good, and let them tattoo all over him, and they just end up with some really bad stuff,
Parents, don't do that.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Don't do that. Wow. And so when you go so you're going back east this summer to Ohio.
Yep.
Is it always in Ohio, or does it change
the last
up?
few years it's been. The first one I went to was in Indiana.
Uh-huh.
And man, that was a nightmare. It's true. We were in the car with a little bit of weed, you know what I mean? And fucking asshole so tight you couldn't hammer a needle into it.
Really?
Dude, the cops in Indiana are so bad. And then like everything is illegal and shit there. So like, especially in Indiana still, even just like a stem of weed, they'll put you in jail for it.
That is so, I don't understand that.
But you can own monkeys and tigers there. You can actually own exotic animals in Indiana.
Wow.
Yeah.
So kind of like Texas.
Yeah, so I don't know much about Texas.
Well, the only thing I know
is illegal. You can have exotic animals there.
Yeah, and actually, and I hear it. I've heard it many, many times before. There are more tigers in captivity in Texas than there are wild tigers in all of the world.
Oh wow! Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, I'm like so Ohio, and it's a good point to talk about the way things. So like, I know. The other thing that I always caution people is if you're gonna get a tattoo, don't show up drunk.
Oh yeah, no,
Don't do it.
Or hungover.
Right.
I mean, honestly.
Oh, interesting. Hungover too?
Yeah, because the alcohol's still in your blood, and
Okay.
it's really had time to get in there. And yeah, man, I mean, like when people are hungover, especially, you're really prone to fainting. From it, and then it just leaks like a sieve.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things where like you're trying to put ink into the skin, but even faster. I call it people juice because it's not quite blood.
Yeah.
It's wanting to come out
Because it's part alcohol at that point.
So you're like fighting it, and it's no good. Yeah, if you get tattooed, you should definitely be well rested, well fed, not hungover or high on anything.
Well hydrated too, right?
Yeah. So like your blood sugar and blood pressure are the main thing. You experience the initial shock of a tattoo.
Yeah.
If those are low and they bottom out, you'll faint or pass out, whatever.
So when you're saying the initial shock of the tattoo, is that where you get a barometer of how they're going to do?
Not necessarily, because I mean, it's just your body's reaction to your skin being open. I guess I'm really not sure. I think it plays into like the mental thing too. Even when people aren't nervous or have gotten tattooed 100 times, it'll still just happen.
Yeah.
I know people who are covered in tattoos and are like, hey, just to let you know, I pass out every single time as soon as we start. But then 10 minutes later, they're good to go. It's one of those things. It happens.
What do you do when that happens?
Try to make sure the person doesn't hit their head on anything or hurt themselves, and then just wait it out. There isn't really a lot that you can do. But most places you have to have CPR
Okay.
and first aid to be able to do tattoos.
Interesting.
I think here it's just bloodborne.
Okay.
But I've been tattooing for 20 years, and I've had CPR for 19 years.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, I can handle it.
What do you think is the most difficult piece on the body to tattoo?
In my opinion, probably the throat.
Okay.
And for me, it's because I'm kind of a big guy. And the throat, you got your chin and your chest. There's just not a lot of room there since they get a lot of angles.
You're kind of really in there.
Yeah, and then like behind the ear. I think the worst for me is just really thin people.
Okay.
People who skateboard, like dudes who skateboard, they always seem to be tall, lanky, and then their skin's busted up from falling all the time. Yeah. So like, what I try to tell people, like, trying to tattoo a really thin person's arm is like if you're trying to draw a picture on a pencil.
Okay.
It's just you know what I mean. At least maybe for me, because I'm a big guy.
And then also, like, when you get to the parts where the skin is close to the bone.
That's different for every person. Some people's like elbows are easier to tattoo than other people's. What's really difficult is if someone was big and then lost weight. Man, trying to stretch their skin to tattoo it's kind of a nightmare. But it's doable.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that. But yeah, the skin is very pliable. How interesting.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing. Super weird thing.
So if somebody's listening and they want a tattoo by Bryan Red, where's the best place for them to start?
My Instagram.
What's that?
Undyingart.
Undyingart on Instagram.
Yeah, and then I have over 600 photos of my work there, and if you like it, just DM me. If you catch me while I'm traveling or right before I travel, I might be going through your area. I usually travel 2 or 3 months out of the year, and then as far as I can tell right now, any other time I'll be here in Salem.
Okay.
At Oregon Tattoo Company.
Well, are you going to like putting your stops on your Instagram as you head over there so people have an idea of where you're going to be and all that stuff? Or
I've really neglected my Instagram, to be honest. Just because I end up being so picky and choosy about what I post on there.
Yeah.
That I end up just not posting anything.
Right.
So I mainly keep that as just like a gallery.
Okay.
And a way that people can message me.
Okay.
And then I am more active on my Facebook.
Perfect.
But I do a good bit of like shit posting and stuff like that. So, it's kind of like it might not be doing me all that many favors, but that's fine. But yeah, Bryan Red on Facebook, Bryan with a Y. yeah, that's a pretty good way to like see like what I have going on a regular basis and where I'm at.
Yeah.
But I think I keep my best pictures on Instagram. But I do have more pictures on Facebook of more recent stuff. It's just I try to compile what I see as my best on Instagram. So, but I still have stuff that is really good that I've been meaning to put on Instagram. It's just not on there yet. So if it's on Facebook, it's not that I don't think it's my best. I just haven't had the time to put it on my Instagram. So,
well, it's hard, you know. You almost need like a full-time job to do the marketing piece.
Yeah, which in that case, you know, I mean, yeah, as far as letting my work like speak for itself, people who want larger stuff, I just tell them like, hey, look at my stuff, and then if you trust me, then you know we'll make up the time, and then when you show up, we'll draw stuff on, we'll do everything that we need to do, and then once things are right, we'll run the tattoo. It is actually pretty rare that I draw stuff up in advance because then, you know, like I'll change my mind. Even if the person doesn't like change theirs, I'll see some stuff that I don't like. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to redraw it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, that, and it's just kind of like, I feel like that's one of the cooler things that you can do for a person who's getting a tattoo is draw it right there in front of them for them.
Yeah.
You know, because I've worked in probably 300 tattoo shops in my life, and so many people will just go on Google and print off the first thing that they see and just rip it off. It's just lazy. And to me, it takes the magic out of it.
I'm glad you said that, because I think that's something that I want people to understand too, right? Like when you draw something, that's your art. So when you take something that's drawn by another tattoo artist and you take it somewhere else, you're kind of stealing that person's art. So I'm trying to say, don't do that, right?
Well, I mean, so so in tattoo shops, you see, especially in this one, there's a lot of flash.
Yeah.
You know, those are things that are meant to either be used
100%.
or to take inspiration from. Most of the people I know, even if someone wants a thing off of the wall,
yeah,
they'll either take a photo of it and redraw it, and it'll still be a little different, or they'll just use the idea or something like that. So if you put something on the internet, a photo, expect for it to be used
100%.
You know, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
That's also another reason why some of my best friends, I don't have their tattoos posted up, because I don't want people to steal them.
Yeah.
You know, now if they want to post that picture up themselves, you know, then that's fine, and I'll have them like tag me in it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll post it then, like, since they have. But like, yeah, at least long ago, that was my thing, is like all my coolest stuff, I wouldn't put it up because I didn't want people to steal it. I wanted that person's tattoo to stay theirs. But I have come to grow into the idea and learn that I can put my good stuff out there, and even if someone does try to steal it, they're not going to be able to do it like me.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen that play out multiple times. So, yeah, I had this ex-girlfriend. I'm not going to mention her name or her shop, but she would just rip off my stuff so much.
Oh, no.
I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Like, you're not even doing a good job.
No.
You know? And, like, she's totally done a good job on other things. And I'm like, yeah, you should just focus on these things. But, you know, I mean, it's flattering to a point, but not when it's not doing that person favors.
Well, and especially when it's coming out of your bottom line, right?
I mean, no, so like, I don't think that someone else getting one of my designs tattooed by someone else is taken out of my pocket.
Okay.
Unless I drew that up for you.
Yeah.
And then you
took it somewhere else.
Yeah. But like, if you just see a picture of some of my art on the internet, you know, if I put it out there and you take inspiration from it, hey, do it up.
Yeah.
You know? Because like, it is a really big world that we live in, and there is a shit ton of people. Even with the tattoo market being flooded as it is, the tattooers, there's still enough to go around.
Yeah.
You know, that's why like everyone is still in business, unless you like do some really heinous shit to like get closed down. You know, but yeah, I mean, I feel like there's definitely enough skin to go around. You know, it's just a matter of. I definitely wish people would keep higher standards for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, who are buying tattoos. You know, a lot of people.
What do you mean by that?
Like I said, people just want to like get whoever's going to do it for them right there in that moment.
Oh yeah.
Most people don't want to plan, and when doing that, you know, you're gonna just go to whoever says yes. Or if someone wants, you know, like a tiny or a micro tattoo or something like that, in a spot that's not going to hold up or in a way that's not going to look well in a few years, instead of taking the word of someone who's been tattooing for 20 years, they'll just literally go from shop to shop until someone says yes, and that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. But I mean,
and I can attest to that.
You could literally like put this message on flyers and post it on every single wall on the planet.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to listen. They're going to do what they want. People have to make their own mistakes. It's pretty rare that someone learns from someone else's mistake. They're out there. I've seen it. It's usually like the youngest brother. You know what I mean?
Guilty.
But those first 4 brothers, man, they're out there raising hell. Making their mistakes.
And I can attest to that, right? So the first time that I got a tattoo, it wasn't that big. And I just went to the first place and was like, tattoo it. And it didn't end well.
Yeah.
And it took me years to actually find and research a tattoo artist that was able to cover it up. And now I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I had that experience, but now I agree with you. Like, you need to do your research. You need to make sure that the style of the tattoo artist matches what your style wants to be. You want to make sure that whatever you have in mind, just take a look at that artist's page and like, yeah, we could mesh because I like the way this person draws.
Yeah, if you look at someone's photos and the quality of their stuff is consistent, if the tattoos 10 pictures ago look like the same, like they were done by the same person, here, then it's probably their stuff.
Yeah.
And if you jive with the quality of it, then cool.
Yeah.
But I know people who have been fooled by people with stolen pictures, and it's like, you see them and it's like, man, these are obviously just the first 20 pictures from Google. Like, what are you doing? But I've met so many people who have a really crappy tattoo, but they had such a good time having it done that it's the best tattoo in the world to them, So I think it's really important that you just do what feels right, as long as you don't feel pressured, and everything is going organically for you. Even if you end up with a tattoo that's not perfect, maybe it's still good for you because you had a good talk with your tattooer, or even in cases, so I tattooed this girl here the other day. I barely said anything the entire time because I just focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then when we were done, she was like, "Hey, I really like that you didn't talk much." And I was like, "Yeah, most people just need to learn to shut the fuck up sometimes."
I appreciate that too, because I am under the philosophy of if you're talking too much, you're not focusing as much on the art.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people I've met who can tattoo like a motherfucker and jibber jabber the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, more power to you.
Yeah. It's just not me.
I like to listen to the music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just get lost in my work.
Yeah. So. And it shows. It really does show.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I guess in closing, I would just like to say, like, how much I really appreciated my time today.
Hey, I appreciate taking your time as well.
Yeah, this has been great. And then, so you got your Instagram, Facebook, you're going on tour. Anything else you want people to know about you before we wrap this up?
About me? I just like to smoke weed and have a good time,
So if they see you out and about and somebody wants to share a joint,
I probably won't share because I'm kind of germophobic like that.
I love it.
But
we both.
but we can both have our own respective joint right there on the corner. I love to smoke weed in public.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bryan. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.